Hi class, welcome back. Now, we are going to have another new lesson for today, and that is Sensations Part 1. In our previous video, we were able to discuss about the neurotransmitters, the central nervous system, and the endocrine system. Now, we are going to discuss about the sensations, and this will be the Part 1. Now let's define first what is sensations. So sensation is the passive process of bringing information from the outside world into the body and to the brain. So when we say sensation, it is not that we do consciously. It is done unconsciously to us. It is the passive process, meaning it happens to us without sometimes knowing it. All right, it is bringing information from the world, from outside our world, into our bodies and send it to our brain. So, for example, an example of sensation would be the feeling of the shivering cold at night. So it is not something that we have to feel. We have to consciously do to feel it. It is something that we automatically feel. The shivering coldness of the night. The coldness of the night, those stimulus or the outside world the outside world things, those are called stimulus, are the information outside the world, and due to this stimulus we receive this into our bodies, so we can feel we receive it to our bodies and then send that information to our brain, and that's the time when we feel that we are cold. So as you can see, again, sensation is sensing. We're sensing information from the outside world. The outside world environment will be our stimulus. Okay, and that information, the stimulus, will send out information to our bodies, to our skin, and then down to our neurotransmitters, sending it to our brain, making us feel that we are cold. So in simple terms, that is sensations. A stimulus can be measured in a variety of ways, including its size, duration, intensity, or wavelength. So stimulus these are things from our environment, like what I've mentioned a while ago. It depends on its size, its duration or length, intensity, or how hot or cold it is, or wavelength. All right. So again, stimulus are any feeling, or not feeling, and things in our environment that inhibits us to express or to experience things. A sensation occurs anytime a stimulus activates one of your receptors. So sensation only happens when we feel the stimulus and it activates our receptors. Like for example, if we feel the cold breeze from the night, some of us will feel it, and then I forgot what's this called, balahibo in our skin tatayo. Okay, so the balahibo in our skin will tatayo. So that is sensation. Okay, so it is not something that we ask to do. Okay, it is something that is automatic. Okay, so the stimulus is the air. Okay, the cold air, and then our response would be yung lalamigin tayo, tatayo ang ating balahibo. Okay, so sensation only occurs. Masasabi natin that there is some sensation if we were able to feel that coldness, and then our body unconsciously reacts to it. Okay, so that is sensation. The sense organs that detect any change in energy, such as light, heat, sound, and physical pressure. Sensation occurs when special receptors in the sense organs The eyes, ears, nose, skin, and taste buds are activated, allowing various forms of outside stimuli to become neural signals in the brain. This process of converting outside stimuli such as light into neural activity is called transduction. So let's go back. So the sense organs detect our sense organs detect the changes in our environment. That can be energy, light, heat, sound, and physical pressure. Our sense organs are the ones who detect it. And of course, our sense organs are the one who feels the sensation. The sensation only occurs in our sense organs, specifically our eyes, our ears, nose, skin, and also our taste buds. So these 5 sense organs are the ones responsible in sensation. The sense organs, once they receive the stimuli or the stimulus, they will send neural signals into our brain that neural information into our brain that gives us information about what it is. Like for example, so we feel a shivering coolness and it touches our skin. So tumayo nga ang ating balahibo once we felt the coldness of the night. So our sense organ there is of course our skin. Our stimuli would be the coldness of the night, and our neural signals then will send those information to our brain, and then our brain will say, hey, it's cold tonight. Alright, so that would be the response. Okay, or also the response of maybe verbal or also just simply the response of our ayan yung ating balahibo. Tatayo siya. Alright, so we also have the term transduction. Transduction is the process of converting outside stimuli into neural activity. So, and again, stimuli, what I've mentioned a while ago, stimuli or stimulus, these are outside information that is sensed by our sense organs. Okay, so the stimuli, the outside information, stimuli converted into neural activity and passed into our brain is called transduction. Okay, the process of converting the stimuli into neural activity to our brain is called transduction. Okay, further, transduction is the communication between the brain and the rest of the body, occurs via a neuron. Information goes from the senses to the thalamus, then to the various areas in the brain. So again, transduction, again, it's stimuli converting it into neural activity. So the neural activity is only done by, of course, the neuron. Okay, again, the neuron are the ones, or neuron consists of neurotransmitters, okay? Again, the neuron these are the basic unit of structural, the structural unit in our nervous system. Alright, so these are the neurons. So the neurons are the ones that send neural impulses to our brain. Okay, so again, the stimuli will change. Stimuli will touch our sense organs, and then it will change into neural impulses, and that process is what we call transduction. So this information, once the neurons touched or reach the brain, this information, once the neuron rather goes to our bodies, to the brain, it goes from the senses to the thalamus first, then to the various areas in the brain. Okay, so it will touch first the thalamus, then to our brain. Right, so that's the process of transduction. All senses involve something called receptor cells. Their job is to transduce, transform, or even translate physical stimulation or physical energy from the environment into an electrochemical messages that can be understood by the brain. Alright, so since we have the sense organs, we also have the receptor cells. So the ones who receives the stimuli from the environment are called the receptor cells. So the receptor cells, I'm sorry, just to avoid confusion. Okay, so the stimuli was received by our sense organs, okay? And then these sense organs will have specific receptor cells. The receptor cells' job is to transduce, okay? Transduce meaning to transform or translate this stimuli to neural impulses that our brain can understand. All right. So again, the the main purpose of the receptor cells is to transduce. It is part of transduction. All right. So when we feel the environment, when we feel the different stimuli in our environment, we have the different kinds of thresholds. When we say threshold, it is the feeling, okay, or the degree of sensing. All right, so we have first the absolute threshold, and we also have the difference threshold. Now let's go first to the absolute threshold. Absolute threshold is the level of stimulus that produces a positive response of detection 50% of the time. The lowest level of stimulation that a person can consciously detect 50% of the time the stimulation is present. So absolute threshold, it is the active detection of the stimulus, meaning it's about 50% of detecting it. So like for example, if you see an object and you recognize that object is color pink and it's a pig, so you were able to distinguish that object in an absolute threshold, about 50% of it, because only on the sight you just was able to just see it, okay? So absolute threshold most of the time happens if you are actively or consciously looking at it or feeling it or sensing it, okay? So that's absolute threshold. You were able to feel it or sense it, okay? Or for example, you were able to touch a very hot kettle, all right? So the feeling of touch there, the sense of touch there, and then the feeling of hotness in your palms is also an absolute threshold because you were able to feel it about 50% of it, okay? So it was really recognizable. So the absolute threshold pertains to something, to the feeling of to the feeling or sensing it recognizably. And then we also have the difference threshold. The difference threshold pertains to the smallest change in a stimulus which a person can detect, also known as just noticeable difference, or JND. Okay, difference threshold is pertains to the just noticeable threshold or just noticeable difference. Okay, so for example, the rain is pouring, all right, and you're under a roof. Okay, so you assume that, of course, consciously, and also you're aware that you're under a roof and you will not get wet because you are protected by the roof. The difference threshold there might exist, might or might not exist. Okay, so for example, instead of the rain, once the rain was pouring, okay, the rain is pouring, and unexpectedly, some few raindrops touches your skin. Okay, so sometimes you just notice, okay, nababasa pa pala ako dito. Okay, so that just noticeable threshold or this just noticeable difference, just like a little drop, that little drop that you might notice or might not notice is the just noticeable difference. Okay, that's difference threshold. thresholds. Okay, so meaning it is just so little that sometimes you can feel it or not feel it. Okay, or what else should I okay, so for example, you are sleeping. Okay, so other people, when they are sleeping, even though people are already waking them up, they are still asleep, but others are not. Okay, so when someone just shouted outside, they are just like, hey, I'm awake already, someone outside is shouting. So for the difference threshold, a person who has a very active, or who are very what they call this, who can get awake easily, would notice that very even low noise. Okay, not or a very little noise rather. Okay, and then wakes up, just like me. So whenever I sleep, and whenever there's shouting outside or there's a small bang that I've heard, I will immediately get up. Okay, so sometimes sometimes those small details are just noticeable difference or difference threshold. Okay, so just to be clear, okay, the absolute threshold, these are sensations that can be noticeable about 50% of it. You are very sure that it happened. Okay, the difference threshold, these are just noticeable, just a little, just notice it quite a little. All right, so not everything about it. Okay, just very little in it. Okay, again, that's the absolute threshold and the difference threshold. All right. Okay, so this slide is cut. All right. Anyway, the important is that you can see what I'm presenting. All right. So here are the 5 senses in humans that helps us in sensing or sensation. So we have first the vision, the hearing, taste, and then the other 2 will be on the next slide. Okay. So let's go first to the vision. Excuse me. Vision is seeing a candle flame 30 miles away on a clear night. Vision pertains to our sense of seeing or sight, or our sense organ, the eye. Number 2, hearing. Hearing a watch ticking 20 feet away. Hearing pertains to our sense of hearing, and that is the sense organ of ears. Number 3, taste. Tasting 1 teaspoon of sugar dissolved into 2 gallons of water. So, excuse me, tasting pertains to taste pertains to the sense of tasting, which is the sense organ of. Number 4, smell. Smelling 1 drop of perfume in a 3-room house. All right, so smell pertains to our sense of smelling, which is the sense organ of nose. And then lastly, touch. Feeling a bee's wing falling a distance of 1 centimeter onto your cheek. So that is the touch, which is the sense of feeling, or tactile, that is our tongue. All right, so most of the examples that I mentioned a while ago, as you can see, those are just very small. All right, those are very small, like just this one. Smelling 1 drop of a perfume in 3-room house. So the house probably is big. So it consists of 3 rooms. So, and then just a small drop of perfume you would smell it throughout the house. So those are just so little. So that can be the sensation there could be absolute threshold. All right, because you still smell it. Okay. And then the other one, I forgot the other example, but those are just it. Okay, oh, there's another example. For example, you're drinking a water, Okay, you're drinking a water, so expect that water should be tasteless, right? So a just noticeable difference or difference threshold would be drinking the water and then tasting a little bit of salt in it. Okay, so that could be just noticeable difference. Okay, or driving a car and then just noticed a pink pole instead of a blue pole. All right, so you just pass by it, you just notice it. Okay, that's it. So just that, that's just the just noticeable difference. Okay, so just to give you the example on that using all the senses. All right. Okay, so now let's start first on the first sense, which is the vision. Vision is the most studied of all of the senses, our most dominating sense. There are many parts of an eye, but the basic ones are the cornea, iris, retina, optic nerve, and pupil. Alright, so the vision is the most studied, as mentioned in here, because I think it's because of its parts as well. And I don't know why in the first place if it's the most studied sense, but that's according to this presentation and to the references that I've got. All right, it's the most studied one, and it is the most dominating sense. Okay, it has few parts like the cornea, iris, retina, optic nerve, and pupil. Our eye is stimulated by various wavelengths of light. The different wavelengths are responsible for the diversity of colors we see. So, thanks to the wavelengths, we were able to define the differences in our environment. Okay, and also that's with the help of sunlight as well. All right, so this wavelengths help us define and see the world around us. I'm sorry, I just got that out. Um, I'm not sure. Okay, so I'm asking my sister right now, and then she gives me signals of what color it is, but I'm not sure. Okay, so that's one of the best thing that you can do in this class is to search what color that bounces, and or reflects most, and the color that we can see most. Okay, because there are certain colors that we can see and or we cannot see. Anyway, that's it. Now let's go to the next one. All right, so here are the parts of the human eye. All right, so the human eye consists of course, like what I've mentioned a while ago, we have here the pupil. Okay, and then we have the cornea, iris, the lens, and then we have the optic nerve, and then the eye muscle. Also, we have the retina in here. All right, so let's go to its parts one by one, okay? Let's go to the next page. All right, so here are the parts of the eye. So these are the parts of the eye that are commonly used. Commonly explained, specifically in this subject in the introduction to psychology. So of course we have the eyebrow in here, the line of hair above each eye. So other girls tends to remove it or tattoo it or draw something on it just to make it beautiful. So that's the eyebrow. We have the eyelashes. So the hair growing on the edge of the eyelids. So that's it. So the longer the eyelashes, the beautiful for others. And then we also have the eyelid. Okay, the pieces of skin above and below the eye that cover it when you close your eyes. Okay, and then also of course we have the eyes. Okay, the eyes, the round globular organs in your head that you used to see with. All right, so again, that's the eyebrow, the eyelashes, and the eyelid. Next we have the iris. So the iris is the round colored part that surrounds the pupil of your eye. The iris is responsible for controlling the size of the pupil. So as you can see here in this picture, it's color blue. Okay, so in other countries, we have blue iris. In our country, we have brown to black, I guess. All right, so the iris are the ones that is responsible for controlling the size of the pupil. Speaking of the pupil is the small round black area at the center of the eye. It varies in size to regulate the amount of light reaching the retina of the back of the eye. So the pupil is the one that is the pupil tends to largen up or smaller down, depends on the object that you are looking at. All right, so the pupil regulates the amount of light entering the retina. Okay, so all right, so if you're going to look at a camera, specifically the DSLR, yes, DSLR, the DSLR lens is just like the pupil. Okay, so whenever there is light, there is light, or the size of the lens of the camera depends on the light. So that's just like what the pupil is. And then we also have the optic nerve, connects the eye to the brain. So optic nerve, these are consists of nerves that carries impulses to our brain. Okay, and then we have here yes, before that we go to the cornea. Cornea it is the transparent, slightly bulging surface in front of the eye. So it is not that evident, so but it's a bulge. So look, a bulge in front of our eye. It's eyeball. It's very transparent. That's the cornea. We also have the sclera, the white part of the eye. So in our eyeball, it is the white part. Okay, and then lastly we have the retina, the layer at the back of the eye which is sensitive to light and that receives the image that you see and sends it to the brain. So the retina is the sensitive part. So it places upside down. So when you see an object, it places an upside down, and then that object is sent to our brain. Okay. Further, retina consists of special cells called cones and rods are located in the retina. The cells are known as photoreceptors and help absorb light. So in the retina we have special cells, that's the cones and rods. Let's go first to the cones. Cones, the majority of the cones are located in the macula or central area of the retina. The cone cells help us see colors and detail. So similarly, the macula allows us to read and clearly recognize people's facial details, such as eye color and whether they have freckles. So the difference between so the cone cells, the cones, it is located at the center of the it is located in the retina. Okay, it is in the macula. Yes, it is at the center. So the cones or the cone cells helps us recognize the colors and also the detail. And then the macula helps us recognize people's facial details. All right. So the cone cells helps us with the color, and the macula helps us with reading clearly and other details. Also, we have the rods. The majority of the rods are located in the peripheral or outer area of the retina. Rod cells allows us to see in poor lighting and give us our night vision. So our rods are the ones who is very active in dark areas. Okay, so they serves as night vision goggles, automatic night vision goggles to us. All right, so those are rods. All right, so that's the last part, or this is the last slide for this presentation. So if you have any questions for me, so please let me know, and we will talk more about the different or the other senses of sensation in our next part of videos. So thank you very much. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you again next time. Bye for now.